So what are some takeaways from Popovich speaking out for the first time publicly after suffering his stroke?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. I hope you're having a great day. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe ASAP because we need you to leave those comments. Go to the YouTube page, leave them there. We'll read them in a future episode of Locked On Spurs. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. What are we talking about today? We're going to be looking back at Pop's first public appearance since suffering the mild stroke. There was a lot of takeaways that we really get a chance to highlight when we had the initial reaction to Mitch Johnson becoming the new Spurs head coach. It was a big piece of it, but we didn't dive deeper into it. So that's what we're going to do today. Look at what it meant for the team, for Pop, for the players, and so much more. Yeah, it did have a great ripple effect. You'll hear in just a few minutes. And they're going to be asking the question, is San Antonio a destination for top free agents? It's an interesting question, right? They're entering a new coaching phase. They're in the Wemby era. Is that going to be enough? We'll hear about that and more, and maybe get some. Well, no, I think we will, because these NBA playoffs have been phenomenal. I mean, seriously, kudos to the NBA. That is some competitive series that are going on right now. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. Let's go to bring in our guest, everybody. He is back, the Vin Dog, Vinnie Vinzetta, Ken's 5 TV's very own, rocking the Viva Fiesta. You still in the Viva Fiesta mode, Vinny? Because
it's San Antonio, so 24/7, 365 around this place, Jim.
That's absolutely right. Make sure to follow Vinny on X at VVinzetta. Do that right now. It's a great follow. Not only you get Spurs stuff, you get a lot of local sports stories. Even maybe he'll tease something that he worked on prior to coming on this episode of Locked On Spurs. So stay tuned for that. But Vinny, I'm glad you're on. And actually, truth be told, everybody, this is kind of Vinny's show. Vinny was the one who approached me about having a show just dedicated to Popovich and his takeaways, my takeaways, and so much more. And when he sent me the message, I was like, he's right, because it kind of was a little overshadowed by Mitch Johnson and becoming the new head coach. I mean, Vinny, the last 3 episodes of Locked On Spurs, we've just been all about Mitch Johnson. So, but we really haven't had a chance to focus on Pop and his public appearance. First of all, Vinny, I was very surprised. I thought he would not make a public appearance at all. I thought maybe you can see him out in the wild, maybe at a game in one of the luxury boxes, but not the way he did it. Vinny, what did you take away from his public appearance?
Well, I'll tell you, I woke up Monday morning and jumped in the shower and got myself ready and thought, are we going to see Pop today?
Yeah.
The email did not say that, but I just have my mind kind of racing, wondering. So, we get over to the performance center and everybody's setting up, and all the photographers are setting up on the behind the staging area, and we all get seated in media seats, and it just seemed like there was kind of a serious tone, a feel to the moment, and off around the corner you could hear Spurs PR kind of organizing the group. And I didn't know at the time, is that just Mitch and his family and maybe Peter J. Holt and R.C. Buford? I wasn't sure. So once you kind of heard the end of barking orders and you're here and are we ready? Let's go. Out walks Victor Wembanyama. And then right behind him was Coach Pop, flanked by the greats Timmy Duncan and Manu Ginobili. And I would tell you, Jeff, that it was very surreal in that moment to see. Here's this individual that many of us have covered, me for almost 15 years, right. Many for 25, 30 years. To see this individual who's always been larger than life, moving slow, and you could see that there's been a physical setback. It was just surreal to see him walk in, but it added this really fascinating realness to the day. And, he comes in and he's walking on his own. But Emmy and Manu are by his side, and here come Mitch and his family, and Peter J. Holt, and DeJounte Murray is in there, and other Spurs players on the current roster. Everyone gets seated, and then Peter J. Holt begins to address the media, and he was choked up. He had some emotional moments. But then up comes Pop, and again he's flanked by Timmy and Manu, and they get him to the podium, and he spoke in my view, in my estimation, so eloquently and beautifully, and just very humanistically. It was just a powerful thing, and he talked about how he's still working his way through this stroke, and he thanked his physical therapy team that have been helping him. And then, of course, the big moment was the joke with El Jefe when he unzipped his windbreaker and showed his new position. But then, he welcomed up Mitch. Pop didn't take any questions. He just welcomed up Mitch. And I found myself thinking, this was the important part, people might say that this upstaged Mitch's moment. It so did not. It was so perfect. I give the Spurs a round of applause for the way they handled that situation. Again, Pop just welcomed up Mitch, and they had an embrace, and Mitch sat down and made his statement and took his questions. But I kept finding myself leaving Mitch and looking back over at Pop, because it was just, again, it was so surreal. A man that commanded the room for all those years, and in a way, Monday he still commanded the room. So
he did, yeah.
It was a very powerful day, a very beautiful day, and it was very surreal. But I just love the way it all played out.
Me too. Unfortunately, I could not make it due to a family issue, but I was watching on the Kens 5 stream, and I think it was kind of the elephant in the room once you realize it's Pop. It was a little jarring. It was a little jarring. Because you mentioned his gait was very, very slow. He obviously had some sort of paralysis because I think his right arm, or couldn't move. It was just kind of just stationary.
And when he unzipped his windbreaker,
right,
you could see Manu and Timmy help him turn around and turn back the other way. Yeah,
right. And you definitely saw the effects of it. There were at least some heart-stopping moments, because there were a couple of times where he kind of looked like he just froze in mid-sentence and took a while to get things going, and he got back on track. But, you definitely could tell that the spirit and the mind is there to be, or continue to be, an NBA head coach, but the body is just not allowing it. And Pop hit it on the head. He said they need somebody who can fully dedicate to the position. He cannot physically, because of the rigors of an NBA season. It was quite apparent. But Vinny, in that press conference, and when Pop showed face, I think it was a good sign for the franchise, for the city, for fans, that look, although he's going through this, and he did make it very clear, Vinny, his rehab is not over. It's still going. He even talked about how he has workouts at the Rock still scheduled and whatnot.
Yeah.
But for him to step up to the stage in that physical condition, my first words after that were just, wow, how courageous. Your thoughts?
I was blown away. It didn't, I guess it had been on my mind, and my thought process kept telling me, even though the Spurs haven't said anything, I just feel like we might see him. I kept telling myself, if we don't see him today, are they going to suddenly have him in the luxury box, as you mentioned, a few games into the regular season, or will he make an appearance at half court during a halftime? How are they going to do this? I thought the way they did it was amazing. And yes, the courage and guts he showed to get up there and still, in my view, speak very eloquently to us, the media, to Mitch's family, to Spurs brass. I felt privileged to be there. I really did. I mean, I wish you and everyone else that covers him on a regular basis that couldn't be there could be there, because it just felt genuine and real, and just, he gives us media folks a hard time. Everybody's been popped, as they say. We've all been blown up on occasion, but that's just his way. He's gruff like that. But I saw him in a different way that I'd never seen him before. And it just really, it touched hearts, honestly. It was just, and the way that the world, the basketball, not just the NBA, Jeff, the professional basketball world rallied around him has just been phenomenal. And Friday, we went down to Fiesta de los Reyes at Marcus Square, and I didn't know what the reaction of fans would be, but there were people in a Fiesta setting almost getting emotional, talking about what this man has meant to the Spurs, to the city, and to them. Fans really shared what he had meant to them specifically in their own minds and hearts. And the man, what I learned, I probably already knew this, but you don't know until you ask. I walked away from those fans that day thinking, man, this guy has moved mountains for these people. Like, he's been everything to so many people in San Antonio.
Yeah, exactly. We're not done praising Popovich for his moment in the spotlight. When we get back, we're going to continue our thoughts about Popovich and, of course, get into if San Antonio is a free agent destination now, and some NBA playoff talk with Vinnie Vinzetta. Make sure to follow him on X at VVinzetta. He is with Ken's 5 TV. Catch him on that television, having a bunch of food, talking sports. He does it all for Ken's 5. But first, I want to talk to you about Upwork.
Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Find the right talent. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. Fast and easy hiring. Post a job is free and simple. And within a day, you get multiple qualified candidates to choose from. You get cost-effective growth instead of hiring full-time. Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now to post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. There's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity signing courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes tickets getting them easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. You got easy ticket shopping. You just check in on the Game Time app, check out the amazing deals on some huge matchups coming up. Super deals, Game Time Picks even highlight super deals, giving you the best bang for your buck. Peace of mind. View seats before you buy, no surprise fees, the lowest price guarantee. You can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Oh, hey, this is Morty Smith and Cheese. You are listening to Locked on Spurs with Jeff Garcia. Cheese.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Vinnie Vinzetta, the Vin Dog. He is back, everybody, on this week right here on Locked On Spurs, talking about Popovich and his public appearance since suffering the stroke. And we were talking about just, how he commanded the room despite his physical condition. We even mentioned about it was a little jarring to see him in that way, because here was a guy that was lively and active. Look what he was doing when he got the stroke. He was on a treadmill, according to the Spurs and reports. He was trying to stay in shape. It looks like the body and the mind at that point wanted to continue being a head coach. Unfortunately, this happened, and he resigned from the position and now being team president full time. One thing about the press conference too is that I liked is just the fact that it was a message to Mitch that if Pop, despite everything he can do, that he's going through right now, for him to step up to the plate and take control of the team from a coaching point of view, that he has to do the same, because passing that baton from Popovich to Mitch, that's a lot of work. Those are some big shoes to fill. Now, sure, Vinny, I want to get your thoughts on this. It didn't take a genius to figure out that it was going to be Mitch as an official head coach. You look back at his history, his 10 years in San Antonio, he was tapped as the interim head coach over a guy like Brett Brown. He was tapped to fill in for Pop whenever he got ejected or just couldn't make a game. And he was tapped to be the Summer League head coach for the Spurs. So it was there. But how do you think that moment impacted Mitch Johnson?
Immensely.
Yeah.
Pop drove that point home that this is the guy for the job. And he said, despite my setback as the new president of basketball ops, I'll do everything in my power to help you. So I think Mitch felt very humbled and overwhelmed that he would have the support in the room he had. But again, Pop made that clear that this is the guy, this is the person to lead us forward. I mean, talk all you want about the speculation around, say, a Mike Budenholzer, a Mike Malone, a Becky Hammond. Who else was fired? Some argued that Steve Kerr had a contract up; he might come to San Antonio. I mean, I agree with you. They were locked in on Mitch for a while because he's been inside the organization, and he really took over, frankly, and fairly, really an impossible situation with the Pop situation. Then the injuries to De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama. So I was always in the camp. I don't know about you. I was always in the camp that, despite maybe his lack of resume success, I'm not sure he got a fair shake. And it would make sense to me. I'm not saying it was the right move. I'm just saying it didn't shock me at all that he's the guy.
And the good thing about it, too, is Pop, although physically he's been impacted by the stroke, but again, going back to the mind is still there. And even though he's no longer a head coach, as team president, his mind is going to be something that the team can use moving forward, his expertise. The buck stops with him now, So any decision that needs like a tiebreaker or whatnot, or a major decision, it goes through him now. So that's a good thing about it. Sure, physically he cannot do what he used to do because of the stroke, but mentally it's still powerful, and that will help the Spurs in the rebuild. And think about this too. Sure, he didn't go out the way perhaps he may have wanted to go out, coaching the last game, and then that's it, we're done. Life happened, and medically this impacted him. But Vinny, I couldn't think of a better way for him to retire as an NBA head coach than showing the courage, passing the baton, getting out in public, telling everybody what was going on. He did say, about his rehab or whatnot, and just to be there for the franchise in that capacity. And I would not be surprised that Pop wanted to go out there on that day, that he needed to be out there. He needed to show the world, San Antonio, the fans, that I am fully supporting Mitch Johnson. Because I'm frank with you, Vinny, I did not have Pop's successor as a Mitch Johnson. I would not have that on my bingo card. I would have had a Steve Kerr, a Mike Malone, a Becky Hammond, not Mitch Johnson. So I think he probably drove that ship and said, no, I got to get out there. I got to be out there. Because I think on the list, wasn't it R.C. Buford that was supposed to talk? And I don't think Buford did he?
He did not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I can only assume that Pop pushed hard for Mitch to be the guy with the pull that he still obviously has within the organization. But no, I thought the day was really well handled. Couldn't have gone smoother. And I mean this, man, with all due respect to Mitch Johnson. I don't remember much of what he said because my thoughts and emotions and eyes kept going back to Coach Pop. And when he entered the room, everybody was right on him. When he left the room, everybody was right on Pop. So, just a day that I didn't know if it was going to happen, but I wondered for days if that's the way the day was going to play out. And I'm glad it played out the way I did. And kudos to all parties involved. And it's just something that I'd never really experienced a press conference. I'd have to think hard here in my 29 years. I'm not sure I'd really experienced I've been to negative press conferences where bad things have happened and people had to speak out, but just one that had the human touch and feel of this one. It'd been a while, if ever, since I'd experienced one like that.
Yeah, I think maybe the one for me, obviously Pop, the conference took the cake, but maybe it was Manu's retirement, because I think of the big three, only Manu had a retirement conference. Tony didn't, and Timmy didn't. I think that one was up there for me. I'll put the Josh Primo situation up there as well. That was jarring because nobody saw that coming. But as far as Popovich is concerned, that appearance, that conference was good. And the wit is still there. That humor, funny bone, it's still there. He had fun with media. He had fun with Tim Duncan and Manu about them getting revenge on him for the years of torture he gave to them. So, obviously, and then too, the El Jefe t-shirt, showing that little, funny side that's still there. So although the body may not be there as powerful as it was before, but the mind is still there. And for him, the position, that's huge. Your thoughts?
despite the setbacks, Pop's piece of Monday done only how Pop could do it. That's all I can say. It was just classic. It was classic Pop, despite all he's been through. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, before we put a wrap on this segment real quickly, the one moment I had with Popovich, and sure, have I been Pop? Yes, I have. But I think, but I guess one of the most memorable moments is, I believe it was during the COVID era, and they were still doing Zoom conference calls. And this is when I think they had introduced the black with the silver, with the black jerseys with the Fiesta colors striped across it. The first City Edition real Fiesta color jerseys.
Wow.
And I was on the conference call and I said, you know what? Pop was around when the team first introduced those colors back in the 90s. So I was able to have a walk down memory lane about those colors with Popovich. I remember asking him on the call, like, so they brought back the old Fiesta colors, Pop. You were there when it all started. Your thoughts? And he started talking about how fans hated them, that there was a lot of pushback on them, that nobody got it. So it was good to kind of go through memory lane with him with that little moment. And sure, have I been Pop? Yeah. Has he made fun of me in the huddles back when they used to do the conferences in the hallway outside of the locker room? Yes, I have. But that one was always fun. That was a fun. And even just ones that I maybe didn't interact with, but I was there when he threw up his hands regarding the Kawhi Leonard situation. It was in Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And somebody asked him, so what's the status with Kawhi? Because Kawhi had just played the night before, a couple nights, in Madison Square Garden, and the Spurs usually play the Nets after. And that MSG game was Kawhi's last game as a Spur. So the net following game, the Nets, he literally threw his hands up. He's like, I don't know. You're going to have to talk to his people. But like, I was there for that moment when he was exasperated about the whole situation. What about you, Vinny? Any favorite moments?
As I said, I've been popped a few times. Years ago when they were going to play Golden State in the playoffs, and this is when Mike Brown, I think, was the interim when Steve Kerr had some medical issues going on. And Mike Brown had popped off at one of the Golden State media availabilities and said something about, I should be fine. I'm coaching against an old man there in San Antonio. So I said, Mike Brown said you were an old man. And he's like, old man? I'm 68. And, he really wasn't getting on me. He was kind of having fun with it with Mike, kind of getting on him. But yeah, that was a memory. And then, of course, one time I asked him at the old Spurs practice facility something about, he had talked about the lack of energy. So I asked him an energy question, and I guess I caught him at a wrong time. He didn't like the way I asked the question, and he finished up his answer by basically something, that doesn't mean you have a lack of energy. And he finished just giving me the best. He finished the soundbite giving me the best death stare ever. I immediately went from 5'8" to like 3'8". So.
Oh yeah. I've been in that situation before. I mean, also too, I remember seeing him at public events, like for example, when they're, at Christmas time and there's kids around, just how he interacts with the little kids. I saw that, real time. He's like a big grandpa to them. They're just kind of.
I have an image. Yeah. I have an image on my phone that I froze. It was a still picture. It was a piece of video that I froze and then took a still picture of it and posted it on my Vinnie Kins 5 page. It was just this beautiful moment of him handing a box of shoes to this little boy, and this little boy was. Yeah. He seemed scared of this big man, but Pop just got down on his level and handed him a box of shoes and had this sweet little smile on his face. So yeah, he's a really good man. He's gruff with us, but no, he loves his community, loves his country, and he takes his stances because that's what he believes, and you have to very much admire him for that.
Absolutely, and also too, before he got hit physically, with the stroke. He was very courageous when he spoke his minds about real world events and politics. Yeah. So why do you care? And I'm pretty sure there are people in the organization who are like, I don't know, you should be doing that, Pop. But he still went forward and did it. All right.
Other coaches have now taken his cue, and players have followed his lead. No doubt.
Yeah. No doubt. Absolutely. Yeah. He set a standard there. All right. We're done talking about Popovich and his public appearance first, since he suffered a medical incident. Let us know what you think about that moment in time. That's a huge piece of Spurs franchise history we all got to witness. Vinny was there, but we all saw it in either on YouTube or Ken's Five. We saw it, and we got to hear what y'all thought. Leave us your comments ASAP. Leave it on the YouTube page here at Locked On Spurs. Just subscribe, leave a comment. We'll read it in a future episode. You also let Vinny know your thoughts by following him on X at VVinzetta. Do that right now. When we get back, we're going to talk about NBA playoffs. Is San Antonio a top free agent destination? All that and more right here with Vinnie Vinzetta. But first, I want to talk to you about Open Phone.
Running a small business means you're wearing a lot of hats. Your personal phone becomes your business phone, and before you know it, you're juggling customer calls day and night. As your team grows, it becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal number. That's where Open Phone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help keep your work and personal life separate. For just $15 a month, the cost of a few coffees, you get a complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. Open Phone works through an app on your phone or computer and integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. It also uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll have a rundown of all your calls and action items the second you hang up. And if you miss a call, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage. Right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA for 20% off 6 months. Openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have an existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge.
Autobots, roll out!
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Vinnie Vinzetta. My pick for Pop's successor didn't go through, though. Didn't happen, Vinny. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I think they looked at the resume and said, okay, yeah, this guy got his 5 seconds. Next.
Next. He is with Ken's 5 TV. Follow him on X at VVinzetta. Do it right now. Hey, before we get into whether San Antonio is a top free agent destination, shout out NBA playoffs. I don't know if y'all been watching these series. First of all, no home team defended their home turf in the semis. It is just wild. The first time in NBA history, you got buzzer beaters by the Knicks. You got a couple buzzer beaters by Halliburton with the Pacers. You got the Knicks storming back against Boston. I mean, this is just a wild moment in NBA playoffs history, isn't it?
I mean, if you want to be entertained, if you want great fourth quarter drama, I mean, tune in. Now, we're not here to say that every game moving forward is going to be fantastic, but even in the first round, and especially these first 4 games in round 2, yeah, it's been incredible, man. It's been must-see TV. It's been good stuff. Like I know that that they argue that NBA ratings have been down maybe across the board, but right now, gosh, these series are just spectacular, and it's worth the price of admission right now for sure.
Yeah, I was watching the Pacers game 2 versus the Cavs, and
yeah,
that's the way they just came back. Those Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, who, remember, everybody, was voted the most overrated player by his peers.
Was he? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. The Athletic did an anonymous player poll, and anonymous players said that he's the most overrated. So
you know what?
Yep.
He's shown up in these first 2 games. He's shown up in these first 2 against the Cavs, who had the best record in the East, did they not? Or maybe the second best record in the East? Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they're up there. Yeah, they definitely were up there. Yeah, and then, of course, my second team, my second home, New York City, the Knicks. I mean, that's just stormed back with it against Boston, a team that thought that many would just slaughter the Knicks. I did. I remember telling somebody, hey, if the Knicks are still in it, and the final score is Boston 110, Knicks 107, I think that's a win. That's a win for them. But I mean, that's the mighty Boston Celtics, the team that makes almost every three. And
well, I was going to say they can't go 15 of 60 from 3. That's a problem.
That's just wild. It's just wild. Right? They literally died by the 3 versus the Knicks in game 1. So exciting times. Hopefully the Spurs will be there maybe as soon as next season. Vinny, what do you feel?
I wouldn't argue against that as of today. I guess I reserve the right to change my mind, but I feel like, I mean, I'm with the great Sean Elliott. He keeps saying the good days are on the way back, and I don't think he means in 3 to 5 years. I think he means like quickly.
Quickly, yes.
I'm putting on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So make sure you're checking out those NBA playoffs right now. You know, one other topic I want to touch base with Vinny, and it's actually one of Vinny's ideas here, a topic that is whether or not San Antonio is a free agent destination. You got Victor, you have Castle. They're going to have a couple high draft picks. We'll find out in a couple of days where they're going to pick. So they definitely have a strong young core, and hopefully they'll break out of being a dweller seller and be in the playoff play-in chase next season. That being said, Vinny, they got some cash to spend. They got maybe some players to flip, but, you know, that's for a whole other topic. But as far as just the team built right now, what do you think? Is San Antonio a free agent destination now?
So I'm going to say no for the very biggest fish, like the Giannis's of the world. I think guys like that who have, you know, superstar status, I think they want to get to a win right now championship type fold, type melt where they feel like they're the one missing piece. I do think that other guys who maybe are like stars and maybe not superstars would want to come here to be a part of this continuous rebuild, excuse me. But I just feel like the biggest guys, you know, the biggest 5-star guys aren't yet in San Antonio. Could be totally wrong, but that's just how I'm feeling.
Yeah, Vegas believes that Giannis could be a Spur as soon as next season. They have them on the betting odds as number 2. But you know, we'll see how that pans out. And then there's like you said, those other free agents that can make a bigger impact despite not being a star level. Although he's not he possibly could be a free agent. That is Naz Reid in Minnesota. Now he has a player option, so he could do that. But nevertheless, I mean, that would be a huge pickup. Even a guy like Brook Lopez. The Spurs need a backup big man, right? And here's a Brook Lopez who can hit the 3-shot. I mean, that'll fit in seamlessly. But will they come to San Antonio? I think Wemby's going to buck the trend. I think Wemby's going to buck it. I think he is okay with kind of recruiting players, telling potential free agents, hey, come to San Antonio. We're building something special there. It's all there. Think about it, too. I think they got a big ring-in endorsement now. It obviously was not a free agent signing. But for a guy like De'Aaron Fox to say, if I'm going to be traded, I'm going to be traded to San Antonio. That should speak volumes for potential free agents down the road, Vinny.
Hope it does. Hope it does. I just wonder when we always talk about, you know, are they a playoff team next year? Can they at least make the play in? I mean, I think the talent level is there to at least do that. And so maybe that landing that big fish takes you to the upper echelon. I just think the biggest of fish want to feel a little bit better about their prospects here. But, you know, again, you can sell a guy and say, you're the missing link. You're the guy we need to graduate to the top of the line, to move to the front of the line. But it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a really, really interesting summer because of how they may flip the roster here and there, the cash they have to work with, where they wind up in the lottery next week. So many particulars to still play out at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I do believe San Antonio will become a top free agent destination, but they got to do something first, Vinny, and that's win. They got to win.
Yeah. And that attracts those biggest names, no doubt.
Yeah. They got to start winning as soon as next season. The bare minimum is play-in. They got to get the play-in, because if they miss out again, that will be 7 years in a row of nothing after the 82-game slate. Nothing.
At the very least. At the very least, you got to be in the play-in next year.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, before I let you go, just a quick 2 cents. I want to get your 2 cents on this. So yesterday's Locked On Spurs, the topic was, and I just popped in my head right now because we're talking about the makeup of the team moving forward. Is Mitch Johnson already in a hot seat situation starting as soon as next season when he now is officially the new head coach?
So I wouldn't put him in the hot seat as you move into training camp and the preseason in the first games. but I think there's an expectation that you need. There's no more messing around.
Yeah.
If there's a new coach hire where success is expected immediately, I think unfortunately for Mitch, he just got that job. So they will expect results. Like there's no more messing around. You have a guy that, knock on wood, barring injury, is going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. And you have other pieces, and you have all this capital and free agent money, and we'll see what they do with it. But yeah, I think Mitch will be in a situation where expectations will be high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm right there with you. That was my opinion yesterday. I think expectations will be high. I think there will be somewhat of a little slack to start the season.
Yep.
But come around All-Star break or All-Star period right there, I think if this team is struggling, you're going to hear a lot of pushback on Mitch. If they're right there to make a serious chase at a play-in or possible playoff spot, he'll feel the voices and hear the voices and the stomping of the feet on the court. Literally like get this done, push it in them, help them get there. So he's stuck there, but hey, he practically has a ready-made team. It almost is ready-made. Castle, Fox, Wemby, and you got your secondary players, Vassell, Sohan, Keldon. That's a nice little roster they got there. So, and then Mitch Johnson, 38-year-old, young. I think he may be the youngest NBA head coach now. So, yeah, a lot riding on those young shoulders, but we'll see what it does. Yeah, he is Vinnie Vinzetta. Make sure to follow him on X at Vinzetta. He's with Ken Spy TV. Vinnie, what are you working on?
Oh gosh, just a lot of spring sports, and I got a new little segment coming up on weekends called a Vinnie Visit, where I just kind of visit with some of our local sports faces and talk shop and maybe dig up some bones on their life and have some fun with them. So we've kind of been shooting those and getting them in the can. Haven't started airing them yet, but start looking forward to here as we move into the late spring and summer, some Vinnie Visits, and I'll put those on Twitter after they air on the show on the weekend. So yeah, looking forward to that.
See, another reason for you to go follow Vinnie on X at Vinzetta. You get all that and so much more. Vinnie, thank you for coming on. Oh, go ahead.
Yep. Maybe down the road we'll do a Vinnie Visit with Jeff Garcia.
I am all for it. I am down. Just tell me when. I don't know if my key pass still works at Ken's. We'll see what happens there. Maybe they just discontinued it, but we'll see. If not, I'll call you. It'll be Vinnie. I'm up front. Come eat. Let me in. But other than that, I would love to do that. Vinnie, you know how to get a hold of me whenever you want to go and cross that bridge with me. Vinnie, as always, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first spot to always talk San Antonio Spurs just like everybody else. This is the first place you got to come to, the only place right here, Locked On Spurs, for all things silver and black. We are with Ken Spy Plus app. Download that app. Check us out. Also on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. The list goes on and on and on. And by the way, kudos to Vinnie. He came up with the topic for today. Good job, Vinnie. Good job.
Oh.
He made my life easier, at least for a moment there, at least for one episode. So that helped me out. Vinnie, again, thank you so much. And everybody else, you guys are the everydayers. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things silver and black as the Spurs offseason continues. The lottery's right around the corner. Guess we might be talking about very, very soon. So look forward to that. So for Vinnie Vinzetta, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.